All right. Okay. Good. Well, welcome everyone. Really glad to have all of you. We are super excited today to share some of the innovative as well as some really groundbreaking changes that we are doing in the interest of badminton as well as youth talent development in the region of Eindhoven. So really thankful to all of you for taking time again. Uh, we today have most of the members from Eindhoven Badminton Academy, but we also have some interested parents from other clubs or schools, and we appreciate you joining today just to listen in on how we are planning to structure the academy going forward. First up, I would like to give an organizational overview of how we as an organization is structured so that everyone is on the same page. And then we are going to dive a bit deeper into what are some of the changes that we're going to do from September onwards. The agenda for next, let's say 45 to 50 minutes, I guess, is going to be, we're going to share our vision and aspiration when it comes to youth talent development in badminton. I'm going to spend a few minutes on organizational status of where we are as an institution. What are some of the achievements that we have had in recent past, just to give you a context of what all hard work has gone into place for last several months. We would also like to share some lessons learned that we have learned as an academy from the last competitive season of 2022-2023. We would like to present a roadmap for youth talent development because it's often a very unknown as well as fuzzy area of what's the roadmap for talented kids or what's the roadmap for any aspirant kid who wants to do something in badminton. So we want to spend a bit of time on that as well. We would again kind of summarize at a high level what the changes are. Then Summer is going to speak about the new launch of Elite Youth Talent Development Program, and that has been a carefully thought out and crafted program over the last several months, and we take great pride into launching that in the interest of our kids. And we are going to secure some time, at least half an hour to 45 minutes, to just take any questions or if you have any feedback. We are going to make sure that there is good interaction as well on the line. All right. So we, as a company, are known as Sport N Socialize. Sport N Socialize's mission is to promote networking, socializing, and healthy lifestyle by playing sports together. That was when we started this whole institution or a concept 3 years ago. This is the end. And it still remains the same. So we have not bothered changing anything because it still holds true of what we wanted to do right from the beginning. We wanted to build one of the most inclusive, international, economical, and flexible badminton clubs in and around Eindhoven region, which has largely been a successful achievement so far. And the last one, but the most important one, and something that we are passionate about, the people on the line today, is to groom talent from the young age and create opportunities for them to potentially, with an underline, become professional athletes of the future. So these were the high-level mission statements that we had defined for ourselves, and we are still sticking by it quite religiously. From an organizational overview point of view, we are overall 241 members across our entire organization. It is kind of structured in 3 different wings. It is different from how a typical Dutch club or any club is structured within Netherlands. And there are some particular reasons why we decided to do it this way. Rudra United is one wing of Sport N Socialize where we define that as a competitive wing. All the seniors and all the youth who are going to compete on behalf of our club all represent Rudra United. Eindhoven Badminton Academy is specifically focused on youth. It's only meant for kids. Seniors are not being trained under academy, and we want to keep it that way. And the third part is recreational division, which is also very important to be inclusive, is to make sure that our large part of our club, which is just interested in leisure, recreational activities, making sure they're staying fit, are given a space to play as well. So the numbers that you see are not exactly adding up, but because there are some members across different groups. But overall, as of today, we stand at 241 members overall in the organization. This is first of its kind organization in the whole of Netherlands. And that model has largely worked in our mission's favor. From an organizational chart point of view, we are structured in different ways. Sport N Socialize, Rudra United, and Eindhoven Badminton Academy are all our trade names, and those are registered trade names. We have Technical Commission, which is largely looking at Rudra United as a competitive division, in which Meenal Godbole, she's the chair of our Technical Commission. Along with her, we have Laszlo, Anusha, Sylvia, Summer, and Ellie. And in Youth Commission, which is probably of the most interest today, Summer is our chair of Youth Commission, and there are also other people like Rohit, of course, myself, Vijay, Rahul, and Ankush, who have been playing a very critical role in defining how we should be looking forward. What is our vision and aspiration? We always aspired to be best in class and professional badminton academy for aspiring young talent with an aim to produce talent for the Netherlands. And for that, we have always prioritized what makes best sense in terms of setting up partnerships, setting up collaborations, and then ensuring that we are giving a very solid and unified platform for our kids to thrive eventually. And all the steps that we have been taking over the last 2 years at the most, or at the least, have been in that particular vision and aspiration. And today, I'm very excited to announce that some of the slides that you're going to see in next few minutes are exactly aligning with our aspiration in general. And I hope you're able to kind of connect the dots and ask any questions that you may have in that regard. So achievements of the season 2022-2023 is that Rudra United, or even the academy, we launched 10 teams in Badminton Nederland competition. And out of 10 teams, 4 of them became champions. 3 of them took a second place, and 2 of them took a third place. And one team, which was a real beginner team, actually landed up in 7th position. So overall, as a club, as an institution, we were overwhelmed, or we exceeded our expectation as a club which is entering into Badminton Nederland competition for the first ever time. Along with that, in this whole year, we also had very intensive and cohesive collaborations with Badminton Nederland. We have a partnership, official partnership with them, which lets us train along with them in the mornings. It also helped us attract talent to ensure that our kids are getting sparring opportunities, and we are continuously becoming a good, attractive avenue for passionate and aspiring kids. We are also having very active collaborations with student clubs like Panache, Bese Hanafood, Smashing Bruang in Eindhoven region, so that whenever there are opportunities for badminton to grow, we support them. And then we also ensure that these clubs are benefiting from the networking and marketing that we're doing within our club. It is also a matter of pride that 5 of the kids who are associated with Eindhoven Badminton Academy recently got selected into RTC-Eindhoven, which was always one of our objectives, to ensure that we are creating a steady roadmap for all of them. And we really take a lot of pride into that collaboration, because it also gives us access to what's happening at a national level, at an international level, and then get that knowledge in-house so that we are able to create and prepare kids for the future. And lastly, to inspire our kids and youth, we also make sure that we visit French Open, Dutch Open, and other high-profile events so that they can see top players of the planet play and get inspired from them. And this is something that is also one of the objectives that we have in our overall structure. A few more achievements. I know it's a sort of a texty slide here, but we also conducted our first ever youth championship back in the month of April, which saw overwhelming participation of 102 participants. We had an amazing success rate in terms of participating in different tournaments. Since May 2022, we had almost 95% of the tournaments in which we won at least 1 trophy, which is, again, a very nice achievement from a club and academy perspective. We started 2 different elite batches under Eli Mamwe, who's our head coach. He's also on the line today, as well as Rick Stoughton, which is happening on Mondays currently. We have now expanded our staff of coaching, highly qualified coaching staff, to 6, so that we are able to manage our entire academy of almost 100 kids in a very quality fashion, and every kid gets the right amount of deserved attention. So again, that is something that is a very good indicator from a growth perspective. Very recently, some of the kids also participated in the first ever international tournament in Alve in Belgium, which is, again, a very educational experience for all of them. So that was, again, something that we wanted to look forward to. We are probably one of the biggest organizations in Brabant area right now, with Academy, with Rudra United, with the recreational division. And academy-wise, we are pretty confident that we are probably one of the biggest schools in the whole of Netherlands when it comes to youth talent development. To support our growth and just looking at this exponential growth that we have experienced, Gemeente Eindhoven also awarded us €5,000 recently to invest in technological advancements in badminton so that our kids can benefit from those technologies which are out there. And we invested those into getting pretty advanced shuttle feeders, getting blaze pods, which helps agility training, etc. So, and that is something that we are really thankful to Gemeente Eindhoven as well. And lastly, we have also forged official partnership in India. The academy is called Thane Badminton Academy. It is the oldest academy in India. It boasts of very high quality talent coming out of that region. And it offers us one avenue for people to, whenever they go back to India, a lot of people are from India, coincidentally. So it becomes one opportunity for them to go and train with really high quality talent with top class coaches in India as well. All right, so let's change gears a bit here. What were some of the high-level learnings from competitive season 2022-2023? And this is perfectly from our perspective, okay? So we are not trying to generalize this across all the clubs. We are talking as an academy right now. But from positive point of view, most of our kids got really good opportunities. They were either champions or second place runner-up, which was nice. I mean, it's always nice to win matches, right? Who doesn't like to win matches? Players got good experience of traveling within Brabant predominantly to get that experience. There are also several things that we hoped could have been better from competition perspective. The first one is that we won too much, and that was not exactly a positive point in our opinion. Winning too much indicates that the quality of competition you're getting is not good enough. And ideally, you want to maintain a good ratio between wins and losses. And in this case, in our case, we were just winning too much, which is, again, a good thing. But from a long-term development point of view, you want to have equal share of losses as well. Most clubs were not as serious as our club. And again, we are not trying to show down on any other clubs. A lot of clubs have hustle like hide or just having fun as their priority. And we respect that. But we just saw that we were putting more seriousness into kids' education into badminton. The biggest problem that we saw in competition is that we did not have our coaches in any of the matches, because half the time the kids travel to other clubs. So what happens is usually the parents start becoming coaches. And the side effect of that is the parents start believing that they know exactly what a kid requires because they just see so much of their kid in absence of the coach. And that becomes a bit of a problem because then that feedback loop is not finished. The coach never understands what a kid requires from their strengths and weaknesses point of view. And we saw that absence of coaches is a big problem in their accelerated development in general. From a club perspective, it was also administratively laborious to manage absences. Like there are kids who are sick. Sometimes the travel distances are too much so that the kids don't want to, or the parents don't want to drive too much, right? And then some of the parents also struggled with like year-long commitment with competition. And so some of them also missed matches. But in spite of all of that, we still ended up like becoming champions for most of the pools, which was, again, a good sign, but maybe also something that we should be looking carefully at. Well, what's the hot of the press news? Just to kind of be just an acknowledgement of our growth and success rate in our club, we just got awarded a 4-division spot in bonds competition, and this was just confirmed like 2 days back. So we were super elated with that whole achievement because we are not aware about any club which has started like 2 years ago already securing a 4-division spot in seniors competition. Now, why is that important from youth perspective? Because we all here are interested about our kids, right? First, it will become very attractive ground for high-level senior players across Netherlands to come and maybe represent our club in future, which is an awesome point because it will give exposure to our kids. Secondly, we already have secured national level players and coaches to not only represent our club, but also spend time with the kids so that they can learn the techniques and get good sparring at that level. And lastly, when you have that spot in a 4th division, when some of the kids grow up right now in like 2, 3, 4 years, they will have that spot to take because the club already has secured that spot in the bonds competition. a lot of clubs really take a long time to get this to reach where we have reached right now, and we find ourselves very lucky. And thanks to all the great players that we have in our fifth division and fourth division who have really worked hard over the last couple of years to secure that spot for us. So that's something that we are extremely proud about, and we are really hoping that our youth benefits from this achievement 3 or 4 years down the line. All right, so this has been a very common topic, roadmap for youth talent development, right? We often hear from a lot of parents that, hey, what's the roadmap here? Tell me, okay, how should I take my kid from A to maybe D or Z, right? What are the steps? So in brief, it is a pyramid. And for any sport, it's a pyramid. So it's not only specific to badminton. There is continuous filtration and there is continuous promotion and demotion. But if you look at the trajectory of a kid who takes badminton as a potential sport, they get introduced to it first at the bottommost part. Then they become recreational youth, where they're just trying to hold a racket, they're trying to have fun with their friends, they're playing with balloons, they're having picnics, they're having camps. And then they start really getting into the zone of liking badminton. Some of the kids actually start showing talent, and some of them actually start showing a lot of interest in taking it forward. And then they communicate to the coaches, or coaches spot them as well, that, hey, you're showing some good talent and passion. Why don't you take a step up and take more trainings? And that's what we call as elite or committed talent. From that, in Eindhoven region, we have a very active collaboration with Badminton Nederland, as I mentioned before. And we want to support Badminton Nederland with giving them a continuous pipeline of good, talented kids in future as well. So that's where our partnership with them fits very well. And it has already yielded some fruits till now. Beyond RTC-Eindhoven, for which I think some of the kids that are, for whom you are representing today are already in RTC, they may get chosen to under 15 or under 17 national selections. That is done by Badminton Nederland as top sport. And lastly, if you still reach that top of the pyramid, then you are probably one of the international performers. Now, if you're elite talent at age 12, you can still go and participate in international tournaments, right? So we just did it. We just went to Oliver. But that was not under the flag of Dutch or Netherlands. It was an academy flag that we took over there. So international talent, when I say, is basically when the top body of Badminton Nederland recognizes you and selects you as part of the national team. And then you go ahead and represent the country, really. I would like to clarify one more thing, that even though Eindhoven Badminton Academy's purview is spanning from introduction to badminton till selectees, the selection, we are really controlling the space from introduction till elite and committed talent. Because some kids will go to RTC, and some kids will actually get selected into under 15, under 17 for national level as well. But our academy aspires and is already giving a spot and a home to these kids, so that whenever they want to train at their home, there is a spot for them. So that's what it means. RTC-Eindhoven is completely managed and controlled by Badminton Nederland. Selectees and selections are, again, a domain of Badminton Nederland. But again, when they want a home, we have the home, is what this chart tells. I would like to mention that this pyramid is basically indication of your performance and ambition, right? I mean, every kid has a different degree of performance and ambition. So even though there is infrastructure, it is a two-way street where both the factors have to match up to make sure that the kid is growing over the years through this trajectory. All right, so what are the ingredients of successful badminton academy, and why is this slide important? Over the past several months, we have been actively studying the successful countries in the world, like India, China, France, Denmark. And we are trying to simplify what are the factors which makes an academy a successful one, right? There are several French. There is one in Copenhagen. There are also lots of academies in India, China. And the most common point that we saw is that it's one system. So we believe that kids should grow in one system instead of hopping over to different coaches all the time. That's our philosophy. We want to have an experienced, united, and a highly qualified team of coaches. We want to have experienced senior players so that the kids can and the youth can learn from experienced senior players as well. We want to create a sparring players at every level. Rather, this is one of the ingredients. And lastly, these academies offer trainings at the right time of the day, when all these factors are coming together really well. So we got to tick all these 5 boxes for a perfect infrastructure so that the kid can benefit from that infrastructure. All right, so harping a bit more on that last point, right? What's the right time to do training for youth talent? Because I think we are seeing different timings, different clubs and institutions offering at different times, but there is no regular pattern or a trend to it. There is no committed time that they are training every single day. So we started analyzing based on scientific literature, what are the ideal times for a young talent to train based on their biological cycle. If you see the AM part, from 12 o'clock in the midnight till 6 o'clock is probably the sleep and recovery time, right? So that's already a given. From 6 to 8, we saw that there's a potential that they are fresh in their minds. They have recovered. They have really replenished, I guess, from the previous day. And then that could be 2 hours of slot, and that's where RTC is training the kids. Then from 8:30 to 12, that's when the schools and colleges are happening. So we cannot compromise on that either. From 12 to 15, there are still schools and colleges kind of running. So we cannot do anything about that either. And then we saw that from 4 to 6, when they are finished with their academics for the day, they need a break. And that's probably one of the ideal times that we saw is really required to be consistent with our trainings. From 6 to 8, we also find that studies, like as kids grow up, they're going to have homeworks. They need to enjoy family time. They need to have sibling time. They need to eat together on the table, right? They need to make sure that they're showering before they go to sleep. So these aspects are absolutely critical. Otherwise, if that time is overridden by badminton or any sport, basically they are compromising on that critical aspect of family. And lastly, the recovery for an active athlete, who is ambitious. They need to at most go off to sleep by 8:30, if not sooner. So when you look at this whole 24-hour clock, we see that there are only 2 potential slots in which you can really, hit the peak when it comes to training. And that's what it points out over here. All right, so if you look back at that pyramid, we typically see 2 types of youth players in our academy. One is a recreational youth player, and second is an elite youth player. And I wanted to put a table which simplifies that whole difference. The recreational youth player is usually interested in just playing sport for leisure, just like a recreational adult, right? They are not supremely ambitious. It's not like they want to play international tournaments and stuff, right? They are content playing or training once or twice a week. They may or may not be interested in competing either. So they don't want to commit on every Sunday, or they don't want to play competitions or tournaments, and that's absolutely okay. And they may also have other interests or hobbies or interests or likings, right, in their life beyond the sport. And that's absolutely okay, right? I mean, every person is different. They have different likings and different passions. But it's important to recognize these profiles because it helps you prioritize where you want to put your resources in terms of the youth talent development. No academy can develop all the kids in one go. They have to make sure that they're selecting kids who want to take it forward, but also give a chance for recreational youth to have a spot and enjoy the sport that they love. From an elite youth player, they are playing the sport to excel in that sport. Typically, you see the kids who go to RTC are playing a lot of tournaments. They want to excel in that. They always look for more and more opportunities to train and improve. They have a high degree of interest in competing. They want to play tournaments. They want to go every single opportunity. And lastly, they prioritize sports above everything else. It's not to say that they don't have a life beyond sports. They do. But if given a choice, they will prioritize sports, is what it says. Now, what are typical traits of this elite youth players, right? These are the players or their parents who actively consult coaches for the areas of improvement, actively. So they don't mind speaking with coach every single day, if at all that's required. They express an intention to get selected in elite, usually saying that, okay, my kid is really driven, we want to get there, and then it comes from them instead of coaches approaching them. The players themselves are very receptive to coaching. Now, there's a difference here, right? It's not the parents, it's the players. players have to be receptive to coaching. It does not help if parent believes in their mind that their kid is receptive. No, it doesn't work that way. The player has to be seen as receptive to coaching. When coach tells them something, they understand it and implement it the next moment. So there's a big difference over here, because we often see that parents' motivation kind of overrides players' receptiveness, and that's a important point to note. There are also instances when the coach promotes a recreational youth to elite group. The youth and parents are very receptive to such opportunities because they grab it with both the hands because they want to do more trainings. Players, again, are intrinsically motivated to play in competitions, tournaments. And lastly, this is a very important point, often ignored though, that they are truly happy when they are training. They have a smile on their face. It does not feel like an imposition. It does not feel like it's being forced or thrust upon them by the parents or the coaches. And that's an often ignored point, because everyone wants to see their kids grow and do well, but they also often forget that the kid has to be intrinsically motivated to get there. All right, so I'm going to kind of switch topics over here, and then somebody is going to take over. But I want to first introduce the high-level summary of changes that are coming from our academy point of view. Now, I know that some of you are not part of Eindhoven Badminton Academy, and you might not have complete context to every single point mentioned over here. But if you have any questions, we would love to hear from you, and we'll answer that questions. But from a recreational youth point of view, there are not going to be changes from trainings. They'll still do trainings on Wednesday and Saturday, as has always been the case. Elite youth talent, though, we are going to ensure that we are creating focused groups for all days per week. And when I say all, it's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday under one coach, because we do not believe in the philosophy of having 3 or 4 different coaches. We want to ensure that there is one highly qualified coach looking at a small group of kids who are performance oriented. And this is what we are going to do from next season onwards. We are also going to give that group a chance to train early in the mornings with RTC-Eindhoven, not with them, but at the same venue with them. So even if they have a chance to come at 7 o'clock in the morning before their school times, there will be an opportunity waiting for them. Fitness. There's going to be 1 day per week fitness sessions for elite kids. And we think this is really important. And fitness can also, it can mean that going to a gymnasium, or it can mean doing yoga, for example. The fitness can have broad definition here. But we want to ensure that we are doing the right exercises for the right kids so that they are peaking at the right time when it comes to tournaments. From competition perspective, we have made a decision that we don't want to participate in the bonus competition next season, because this the alternative that we are creating over here is creating more value than competition itself. And Samar is going to speak a bit more on that in a few slides. From tournaments perspective, Rudra or EBA will conduct 5 tournaments ourselves to give enough exposure to all the kids in academy, whether it be recreational youth or elite youth. Everyone will have a chance to play enough matches throughout the season, much more than a competition would offer. And it would save money for the parents. It would save time to travel different places. And lastly, the most important point is the coaches will be able to observe these kids at the home academy instead of having parents watch over them in different places. From a elite youth talent perspective, we will conduct the open tournaments. When we say EBA conduct open tournaments, it's not confined to only EBA. We are going to invite all the top kids from the region to come and play with us so that our kids also get a good exposure, as well as those kids get a chance. There are going to be sparring matches with high-level seniors from Rudra. I already mentioned that we have a 4-division spot, and we are attracting some really good senior people as well. We are going to have a mandatory participation in the Junior Masters and NJK. Some of the people who do not know what Junior Masters is, a lot of passionate kids who want to compete and do well, they often go and participate in Junior Masters. NJK stands for National Junior Championship. This year, I think it's happening on 10th of June, if I'm not mistaken. But so these are some of the high-profile tournaments that happen, especially in spring or summertime. And we want to make sure that our performance teams that we are creating for the next season is ready and peaking at those right stages. We will also participate in the international youth tournaments like CIYT and Alve, just to give them international exposure and also to see how are we doing in terms of other countries. And lastly, we'll also have sparring matches with academies in and out of Netherlands. We are already in discussion with some of the foreign academies in Belgium, in Luxembourg, to make sure that there's exchange program of sorts, so that our kids get exposure to their academy as well. From a financial standpoint, we may have small changes in the fee structure of recreational youth. It will not be significant at all, because we want to keep it as consistent as possible. There will still be going to be a chance to have a monthly or annual financial contribution, if at all you prefer it that way. But please do note that annual will be probably cheaper than monthly. If you are someone who's committed, then annual will be probably a better idea than just paying monthly every single time. From a elite talent youth perspective, it will be published in the first week of June. I mean to say the fee structure. It will be an annual membership for elite program kids. There will be possibility to split the payments if at all you don't want to commit to an entire amount right away. There will be chance to pay it throughout the year. But please do note it's an annual commitment, because we are structuring our program to serve the needs of every individual kid. And then it requires commitment from the parents as well. So that's what means that we cannot treat it as a monthly affair. It has to be an annual commitment from both the sides. There could be extra contributions participating in mandatory tournaments, and we may actually club it in the overall structure if that's more convenient for all the parents. And lastly, given the times that we are targeting, from 4 to 6 in the afternoon, we recognize that it could be a difficult time for parents to come out of their office workplaces and then drive their kids from home to academy. For solving that problem, we are tying up with transportation companies and arrange taxis to pick up the kids from wherever the convenient location is and drop them to the academy at 4 o'clock. And the parents can, after they're done with their work, around 5:36, they can come and pick up their kids. So they don't need a taxi or transportation after 6 o'clock, really. So that's one of the things that I just mentioned in the last point over there. All right, so enough of me. I guess I've been just going on a thread over there, but I'll hand it over to Samar now, who's head of our youth commission, and he's going to speak a bit more about the elite youth talent.
Yeah. Thanks, Rohit. Good evening, everybody. Rohit, can you go to the next slide, please? So yeah, I would like to cover my part of the presentation in 4 different question marks. And I hope the answers that I gave also resonate with you. Yeah, so the 4 question marks I came up with is why. Why do we need the EBA Elite Talent Program? And what is the current situation generally within the Netherlands and especially within the Brabant region? And how are we going to change with the talent program? And who, in terms of who is involved to get this talent program up and running? And which teams or what kind of elite program teams that we are going to have. Next slide, Rohit. So what I think, this slide for parents who follow badminton or watch badminton on YouTube or elsewhere, some of the names might ring the bell, or at least the pictures might ring some bell. So if you see Denmark, I think, Denmark generally dominates badminton within Europe and also to a certain extent international level. If you can see the names or the people on the top row, like Victor Axelsson, he's the number 1, and there's Antonsen, Rasmus Gemke, Blechfield, Christians. So yeah, there's a big pipeline of players within Denmark, and there are a lot more players which I'm not showing here. France is it's also very interesting story in France, because France also you do not hear much, but we will hear more and more about France in the coming years. The reason being, France is spending insane amount of money into badminton, and also we already see this in the youth teams. But I think in the next 5-10 years, I wouldn't be surprised if France is as good as Denmark, or even better. So we have the face of the Popo brothers, and there's also one good women's doubles team. Generally, they compete. That's Lambert and Tran. So Spain, another interesting country, because Spain is you also don't traditionally associate Spain with the badminton, but somehow they manage this wonderful, great athlete, Carolina Marin. She dominated singles for many years in badminton. And then, yeah, we come to Netherlands. Netherlands, the story has been, not so great for many years. But there is one lone bright spot within Netherlands at the international level, that the mixed doubles, Selena Peek and Robin Tabeling, they have been doing decent, reasonably well. So overall, I would say that Netherlands, the success at European level and international level has been limited and very low. And if you compare to Denmark, Netherlands and Denmark are very similar in terms of population, in terms of culture, in terms of geography, economics. But somehow Denmark has been doing great for many, many years, but Netherlands not so. And one more thing is, can we learn from other countries? What are they doing something different? What are they doing that we are not doing? Can we learn from them, and can we start implementing here? I think that is also what one of the slides of Rohit mentioned. So that is the why. And the next question is what? What is the current situation? Of course, Netherlands also have motivated players, talented players. And generally, I'm generalizing here, maybe also stereotyping a little bit, but this is what general observation is for the talented players. So talented players generally go for have different clubs. So they're not, more often than not, they're into more than one club and then more than one coach. And they're also associated with a school. So there will be another additional coach from the school. And I did not put a box here, but that is also what we see more also is parents. Because parents also take up as a coaching role. And we see more often than not, parents also start go to the tournaments and coach their kids. And if this player is talented enough, and they also get selected into RTC or the national youth teams or the S1 teams. So what does this lead to? I think probably some of you already recognize this. Maybe you don't, but this is what we generally see. So the kids, the youth travel to multiple locations. This can often lead to stress and frustration to the parents. Parents think that they're like a taxi drivers for the kids from one venue to other venue. This can also cause confusion to players. I think this also might be recognized by some of you. Now, we often hear from the youth, the kids, say, okay, who should I follow? I have multiple coaches now with multiple venues. Who is right? I'm getting confused. And also what we generally see is coaches generally do not travel to the tournaments, or especially the tournaments of faraway places. And the coaches of these different clubs and different schools, they also don't interact because they see part of the player, but there is no whole who is actually monitoring this player. So consequently, there is no feedback loop or learning loop between the tournament performances and the trainings. And we also generally see the trainings are generic because every player is different, right? But every school or every club is doing generic for the whole group. And because there is no this feedback loop or monitoring loop, it is difficult for these coaches to make individual attention or provide some individual attention on the improvement areas of those players. So as a conclusion, we can say that there is no single system that monitors, assesses, and oversees the development of the youth. So that is what the current in a generic situation is. Next slide, Rohit. So how do you want to change, or do we want to change? So shall we keep status quo as it is, or shall we do something different? So I like this quote. There's an urban legend that is normally ascribed to Albert Einstein, but it's debatable. It's whether Einstein said it or someone else. But nevertheless, the quote is applicable here. So the quote is insanity. What is the meaning of insanity? So doing the same thing over and over again, repeat the same thing and expecting different results, that is insanity. So shall we repeat the same thing forever and expect that we'll have better results from the Netherlands, or shall we do something different? And that is what leads to how the next slide, Rohit. So what we want to do in this how is we establish one system of talent program that provides enough number of trainings, high-class trainings, that is 2 hours per day, 4 days per week, so that kids get 8 hours solid training in a single venue within Eindhoven, so that the parents don't have to travel multiple locations, sometimes even outside Eindhoven. And the trainings are conducted by highly experienced and established badminton coaches that I'll show in the next slides. And also the trainings are conducted by fitness coaches. And the coaches will travel to this select reputed tournaments, the junior masters and the international tournaments. And the coaches will regularly monitor the performance of the players and assess the performance of these players at the tournaments and incorporate those learnings in their trainings. And one thing I did not mention in this text here, but what we have here with the collaboration with Badminton Nederland and RTC is we will use the same metrics that Badminton Nederland uses for their players on assessing and monitoring the trainers, the players. And we use the same monitoring system in our academy for the talent program. So that means we are talking the same common language, and then we can also do something about Badminton Nederland is already doing. And with this, we also will provide regular feedback to the players and also parents on the progress of the youth. Next slide, Rohit. I think, yeah, this on this one, how on the tournaments, I think Rohit already covered in one of the slides. As Rohit mentioned, we will not participate in bonds competition because of the various cons already was highlighted by Rohit. But we will select few highly reputed tournaments where we believe that the kids will get good competition, and by so our assessment and monitoring will also have high value, because if the youth and the players, they win everything easily, or for that matter they lose everything very easily. It's not a mark how we can assess. So that's why we're going to select few tournaments, so the junior masters, and then the NJK, and also some national ranking tournaments. And we'll also have some international tournaments like CFIT, Olver, and some tournaments in the neighboring regions like in Germany and Austria, and where we can go and participate as an academy, and then we can also the coaches can travel, and the coaches can also assess and monitor the players. Next slide, Rohit. Yeah. So what do we have in the elite talent teams? So we have 3 different elite talent teams. So elite beginners, elite intermediate, and elite advanced. So these are limited spaces. It is not open for everybody. And the elite talent program is invitation only, and the selection is done by coaches. So it is not a business of making money. It is a business of getting the right talent, giving them the opportunity. So hopefully one day they can go and represent Netherlands and can compete in at European or potential also internationally. And who are the staff involved in this elite talent? Eli, who is also in this call, he is our head coach, and his responsibilities, or he will oversee the overall coaching program for the elite talent, and he will also directly coach the beginners and intermediate teams. Yeah, I think maybe Eli will blush when I say the credentials. Maybe you will not see the blush on his face. It is the credentials are Eli was a former Olympian. He was also a former Eredivisie player, and he was also a former RTC coach. And now he's currently our head coach. And we also have Rick Stoughton. His responsibility is the coach for the elite advanced. And his credentials are he was also a former Eredivisie player, and he is the current RTC coach. And Sheng is our fitness coach. And his credentials are he's an experienced fitness trainer, and he's a very die-hard badminton player. He's also active badminton player in a bonds competition. So the reason I mentioned Sheng here is, so our program contains not only badminton, of course, badminton is very highly it's a highly technical game, but it's also a game of speed and strength. So that is where Sheng comes in. So that is the next one. Yeah, I think this is the slide that, yeah, Rick, maybe some of you already recognize Rick, but yeah, he's not present here. You can read what Rick wants to say. Rick wanted to mention these words because he highly believes in these words. So you can read it for yourself. Maybe I can read it for you. So yeah, Eindhoven Badminton Academy Elite Talent Program makes training effective by structuring and monitoring physical load to strengthen players and prevent injury. Create positive and strong training culture. It supports talent development greatly by filling in a gap, so to speak, that used to be filled with academies like this one. The connection with RTC Eindhoven ensures high quality training for a period of many years, if selected to RTC, of course. The academy is what Eindhoven and Brabant region needs, since there are so many good young players that deserve to get the chance to be a top badminton player. Next slide, Roy. So that is the week's curriculum. So that covers both the recreational division of the EBA and also the elite. So the trainings, as you can see, on the weekdays are 4 to 6, and the elite trainings are on the fitness is on Monday 4 to 6, fitness and conditioning, and Tuesdays, Thursday, and Friday 4 to 6 or the badminton training. And then the Sundays are the usual the recovery days and tournament days. And for the recreational wing of the EBA, so still we have Monday the group sessions, and Wednesday 4 to 6 again the group sessions, and Saturday we have from 1 to 4 hours of group sessions. And generally how it's divided with the training programs, the group sessions on Mondays are done by Rick, and the elite beginners are done by Ellie, and the Sheng will do the fitness and conditioning for the elite program. And on Tuesdays 4 to 6, elite is advanced is done by Rick, and elite intermediate is done by Ellie. And on Wednesdays, elite beginners for 4 to 6 is undertaken by Ellie. And Thursdays, same pattern. Rick will do the advanced and Ellie will do the intermediate. And there's one thing which I'll come back more in the next slide is we are also collaborating with RTC. So RTC and Badminton Nederland are trying to come up with a new concept called RTC Next. So that I will show in the next slide. So they will also potentially, if that comes to fruition, they will also train side by side to our elite kids. And on Friday, we have the same pattern. Elite advanced training is with Rick and intermediate by Ellie. And on Saturday sessions, elite beginners with Ellie. Next slide, Rohit. So this I mentioned as work in progress because we are working on this, and we cannot commit on this, but we try to make this come into fruition. So the first one is sparring sessions with advanced senior players. So we all recognize so the trainings that we are providing to our kids with a high class coaching, sufficient number of trainings, that itself will bring the talent to the next level. But how to make it even more accelerated? So that is what we are working on with how can we get our Division 4, Division 5 players who are highly skilled to provide sparring partnership of these players from the senior division to our elite talented kids. So if this comes to fruition, that also provides a very high level of skills exposure to our elite talent kids, and also it will give very highly competitive matches when they spar against these players. And then the RTC next. So RTC already trains Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday in Eindhoven in Indoor Sports Centrum between 7:15 to 9:15. And Badminton Netherlands is also trying to come up with a new concept called RTC Next. So this is typically a program for very talented RTC players, and also potentially who will end up in the S1 teams. So S1 is one step away from the senior national team. So where they can come and train regularly. So this is what we are at the moment collaborating with Badminton Nederland and RTC. And if it comes to fruition, the RTC next training will also happen side by side to our EBA talent program. And this will give opportunities for our own kids to get inspired by highly talented youth and seniors, and potentially also we can learn from them. Another thing that we are working on logistics wise is, I know some parents might find it challenging to take the kids 4 days a week. In some cases, in the hours where they actually doing their own work. Everyone has a day job, right? So we are trying to tie up with some taxi companies if we can arrange the traveling to trainings back and forth. So this is work in progress, but this is something that once it's finalized, we can share in our next presentation or next opportunities. Yeah, that comes to end of my presentation, and we are open to Q&A.
All right, I would kindly request if you have any questions, just unmute your line and ask your question. And just to repeat, if it would be nice if you keep it specific and concise so that we are able to address the question as clearly as possible. Who wants to go first?
Can you, hi, this is Vinay. Can you send all the details, can you share this presentation to all the people who have participated?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And for example, we have not registered yet with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
How do you then, how do we share your email ID to you? Because we don't have your numbers.
Yeah, Vinay, that's a good question. We will actually send sort of a cover email after this presentation so that you have our details. We already have your email ID since you're already a part of this meeting. And it will give you how to reach us, how to apply for it, or even express your interest. So, for example, if you're interested in trying out how the elite thing is going to work for your kid, then you know how to reach back to us.
Yeah, thank you.
Can we go back to the previous slides where the weekly agenda of the training was presented?
Okay.
Well, yeah, this one. So what I see is like compared to the current situation, the trainings are starting little ahead by 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. And what I see on Mondays, we have group session and as well as fitness for the elite. You only put as elite, that means like all the elite, intermediate, advanced, everybody.
Elite, intermediate, and elite advanced for sure. Elite beginner might be a bit too much for them to take up the fitness sessions. Okay. And I don't know if you're inclined to ask this, Satish, but it is going to happen at a different location. So if we need to go to a gymnasium or a sports school to do the fitness exercises, they don't need to be in the hall on that particular time. So Sheng will be in charge of that session. And the group session is going to happen at our regular location of the academy.
Okay. And this group session is to be taken by Rick?
On Monday, you meant to say?
Yeah.
Well, yes. He's going to have a separate group of his students that he usually works with on Mondays. So, but elite batch will not be there at the same time. Elite batch will be somewhere else doing either fitness exercises or, I don't know, maybe yoga.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it means.
Explains now, because the elite and advanced, and intermediate, while they're training, training at the gym, then the group session will be taken over by Rick. Okay, this is new, I believe. But I think
yes. Okay. Good question. Thanks for clarifying that.
Another question. So the taxi probability, do you see how probable is it? Because it's work in progress. Do you see that happening, or it's more like, let's say, wishful thinking?
Oh no, it's not wishful thinking at all. I think there are plenty of parents who use taxi services to take their kids to schools. So it's highly probable that it will happen. We just need a few days to arrange it, and we have enough time to do that over the next 3-4 months. But we didn't want to commit something that is not fructified yet, right? So that's why we wanted to be transparent about it.
Yeah, and the cost structure, you said it'll be in June, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So the moment all the nominated, if you express interest, and then even the nominated kids that we already know from our academy, once we have a pretty good hang of how the group is looking like, we will do another webinar in early June for elite groups only, and then that's the time when we'll publish our official structure from a financial perspective as well.
Yeah, thank you.
A question, Rohit.
Mhm.
Thanks for the presentation. It's really enlightening. I want to know what is the difference between RTC Next and Elite Advanced?
RTC Next and Elite Advanced. Okay. So RTC Next actually. So let me give a bit of context for benefit of people who don't know much about RTC yet, right, Girish? And I'll come back to your question.
Okay.
So in RTC right now, there are kids who are the talents of this region and who train every single morning with the RTC coaches, which is a direct initiative by Badminton Netherlands. And some of the parents are over here in this line as well, that they send their kids to RTC. RTC trains 8 hours per week, typically, barring some of the holidays and stuff. But if it's a regular week, then they train for 8 hours per week. RTC Next, what Badminton Netherlands is realizing is that compared to other countries, that those 8 hours may not be sufficient for them to actually get to that level of maybe France or India or China. So RTC Next is potential initiative where they are going to create even the cream of RTC to come and then train at the same location as EBA. So not everyone from RTC is going to be invited to RTC Next, is my understanding. But again, I'm not the authority to speak on it. It's the Badminton Netherlands who wants to conduct it, and they will select on which sparring partner should be invited for that initiative. But that's at a high level, that's the idea of RTC Next. And we are kind of lucky to have their presence at the same place as our elite batches, like elite beginner, elite intermediate, and advanced, so that we get networking opportunities with those good people who are like really top players in their realm. But more importantly, we also learn from them. It does not mean that we'll get a chance to play with them directly, because the valley will be too big between our elite kids and RTC Next, who are probably like 17, 18-year-olds who are already playing maybe at high levels or high divisions in different clubs. But in summary, that's kind of the difference between advanced and next.
The reason for the question was because the trainer himself is Rick for both. So how is the attention going to be for the amount of kids that will be there?
We don't know. I mean, maybe it's somebody else, right? We don't know who's the trainer. Rick is committed to this program.
Okay. So RTC Next is not committed by Rick yet, but Elite Advanced is.
Yes.
Okay. That's good to know. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So his attention is not split between two different groups here, if that was your question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know. And on top of that, I wanted to add another question. Suppose somebody is enrolled for the entire year, committed, and there are a few clashing activities which a kid wants to continue to do, and they are clashing with say only a few sessions per week, not all. Then is there a possibility to have a selection, or is it that once a kid is enrolled for any of those programs, that means it's basically the clash is taken out of the equation?
Well, that's where your priorities come into account here, Girish, right? So our philosophy is very clear. We want to offer maximum coaching and oversight of one particular athlete under one coach and a qualified coach. If there are days that it's clashing with some other commitment, then you will have to make some decisions around it. Worst case scenario is that you sign up for the program, but you're not able to make for 2 days per week, and then that's almost like a 50% absence over there. So that is the reason why we are publishing this plan and schedule way ahead of time, so that you can maybe arrange your timetable in a way that is suitable for you and your priorities.
Good to know. Thanks.
Yeah, I know that several people who raised their hands, so let me first go with Leon. Yeah. Leon, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Leon. By the time you sort out your sound, maybe we can go to the next question. Alok?
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see that the elite beginners is on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Is that along with the group sessions? How is that organized?
Yeah. Maybe I'll give that chance to Ellie to speak about that because he's been instrumental in defining the groups. Ellie, would you like to take that question?
Oh, sorry, I was still muted. Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. So my question was on Wednesdays and Saturdays.
Yeah.
Will the elite beginners group be at the same time as the group sessions? And then how are the two sessions parallelly organized?
Yeah. So what we have at this moment, and we will have also from September onwards, it's the Wednesdays and the Saturdays remains the same as
Okay.
now. So yeah, so everything basically on Wednesday and Saturday remains the same.
I think the question here that Alok is asking, Ellie, is that for the elite beginner, which is also training at the same time as the group sessions that happen on Wednesday and Saturday.
Yeah, so
How do we plan to-
Wednesdays,
Mhm.
yeah, the Wednesdays and Saturdays are group sessions. So nothing changes there.
Okay. Yeah, because the question was, let's say my son is right now in the group sessions, and then he goes if he's interested in the elite beginners. In that case, will he be expected to attend on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, or is that then? I don't know how that is organized. So is it expected that it's now then 3 days a week the trainings?
Oh yeah, so you mean. No, the thing is, we are going to select kids like Ruid mentioned before, and you can actually for the Saturday and Wednesdays you can choose to participate in those two trainings, but the other trainings will be separate.
Okay. Not fully sure if I still understand it, but then I think in my case, I think nothing changes.
So Alok,
No.
so the thing is that the elite beginner training is now happening 3 times, right? And I don't know. I'll be speaking specifically about your son. It might mean that it's the same thing for him.
Okay.
But we will
Yeah.
try to make sure that he gets kind of more focus on Wednesdays and Saturdays since he's part of elite beginner. If that helps.
Yeah. Okay. Clear. Okay.
All right. We have Leon. Let's give him one more chance.
Yeah, Leon still has a problem, but he put his questions in the chat.
Oh, okay.
So his questions are, where do you train, and what about players that want to join but already have commitment with other clubs?
Should I take that, Samar?
Yeah, I can answer. Okay. I think, yeah, for the where we train is, I think for the fitness part, that is to be determined. We know the location, but I think we will communicate once it is confirmed. But for the halls itself, that is in the Eindhoven. So that is where we already train on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. And regarding your other question, yeah, if you already have commitment with other clubs, yeah, I think it's also similar to the previous answer there, Leon, is of course you have decisions to make, right? So ideally, we prefer that we have one system. So that is what emphasis is on. That is our preference. But if you already have commitment with other clubs, if you still want to join the talent program, I think, and if selected, I think that is still welcome. But it's a choice that you have to make. Do you have anything to add on that, Rohit?
Yeah, I mean, we have to understand what does commitment mean. does commitment mean that they have to also train with other clubs, or do they have to represent other clubs for competition? What does it really mean, right? So if they want to be part of the elite program but represent another club for competitions, which I'm not sure if they really prefer that, because the week is going to be intensive, right? We have got Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and also tournaments that we're going to have a pretty full calendar for throughout the season. So on top of that, you prefer to play competitions for any club, and that's of course your decision. Then that is a decision that you have to make. But do note that these are young kids that we are talking about. They need recovery time. They need to make sure that they're resting enough, and they're peaking at the right time as well. So more playing is not necessarily the most effective option here. But again, it's your decision at the end of the day. Okay. Satish, you had one more question?
Yeah, not specifically a question, but one general remark is that some of the kids might come, and the school for some of the kids might complete at 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it might be challenging for them to join at 4.
Yeah. So we are aware about that particular issue, and we have already worked out that if they join by 4:30, that still offers them 90 minutes of training, which is significant duration, and which is already happening currently anyway. So if there are school obligations still, like, I don't know, 3:50, and then they have to rush from school to go back home, eat something, then if they join till 4:20, 4:30, it still offers them enough time to have effective training.
Okay.
We are going to make sure that the hall is available at that time from 4 to 6, right? I mean, there are kids who are able to come at 4 o'clock, and there are kids who are only able to come by 4:30. So that, at least we can start with the kids who are available and give them as much exposure as possible. All right. I know Hattis had a question. Hattis, would you like to?
Yeah, my question is actually, how would you want us to communicate if we had questions later on? Do you have an assigned time, for example, during the week, through the email or a phone number? How do we want us to approach you if we want to ask questions later on? Yeah, I think a fixed period of time could be helpful to be efficient. What do you think?
You are very welcome to reach out either in person or on our email. After this meeting, we will send out a summary of what we discussed, and you can simply respond to that email. But if you prefer to meet our head coach, Ellie, or me, or Summer in person, we can simply catch up at the academy.
So just during the sessions, basically,
Yeah.
ask you to go aside and ask the question there. Okay, thank you very much. All right. Thank you for the presentation. It's great. Great information. Great, thanks. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I see that Shraddha, Shraddha or Girish, you had a question?
Yeah. I want to know, my kid is already part of the Monday group session that Rick conducts, but if I say decide not to continue with the talent, not to opt for the talent program, is my kid then not part of the group session with Rick on Mondays?
We'll have to talk about it very specifically, Shraddha. So it's hard to give a clear answer at this stage, depending on the situation with your daughter.
Okay, so group session is actually part of the talent program, is according to current situation, or the presentation plan, according to your plan.
The fitness elite is part of the elite program. So especially talking about your daughter, she'll be doing fitness sessions on Monday. What she's doing right now with badminton, she's actually going to be doing fitness at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Clear.
All right.
And also Wednesday and Saturday is also training she can continue, or that's optional?
We will have to ensure that we are inserting deliberate and conscious recovery times for them. So playing every single day is going to burn them out. And they are still very, very young kids that we're talking about here. But having one system with a focused coach is something that is going to be effective, and we will deliberately plan in a way that they get good recovery time.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Ellie, did you have a comment to make?
Oh, no. Yeah, you had it covered. Thanks.
All right. Okay. Good. Any Any more questions on the line? Do you have any feedback about what are we proposing over here? Do you see that it's meeting some of the needs that your kid specifically has, or are there areas that we can do better from an academy perspective?
Maybe one question, Rohit. This is Meena here.
Mhm.
Maybe I missed that part. I don't know if I missed it. So in addition to this elite program for the kids that are already training at RTC,
Mhm.
that will continue also, right?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Yeah, I wonder how the recovery time will be for those kids.
Yeah, we'll have to look at it case by case, because every young athlete is different. They have different appetites and capacities to take on. So,
True.
but we are pretty confident for. There are a lot of kids, by the way. I mean, one point that I forgot to mention, and I'm thanks to you that you're raising that question. A lot of times, people perceive that RTC is the only way forward, and that's really not the truth. RTC is just another training avenue. So it's not like if you don't go to RTC, you don't have a career in badminton, or if you don't have a chance in badminton. At the end of the day, RTC is just another place to train, right? So it's not like that's the only one way to go to the supreme level here. So a lot of kids actually say that, hey, you know what, morning time is not working for me, and I want to prioritize my education in the morning, for example, right? And then for such cases, they have talent, they have passion, they have aspirations and ambitions. This program allows them an evening slot to get the same effective training with the same coaches as well. So that's another way to look at the whole RTC situation. But there are going to be kids who say that, well, I'm happy to train 2 hours every morning, but I also want an evening training, just to maybe play some matches or make sure that I'm continuing my education with Rick. And in that case, it is not completely unheard of, because if you look at successful countries like China, India, even France, they do have a tradition of maybe playing 3 or 4 hours in a day. So we are not talking about something which is out of the world. We are just trying to catch up with them here.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And I see that you do have an eye on that for
Right.
the kids' point of view. That's
Right.
good. Thanks.
Satish, you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I mean, continuation, the same thing. It's basically for the kids who are already going into the RTC, for them, if they want to continue, full elite, advanced, or elite program might be too much, but can we make something in between?
Yeah, we will have to keep a special focus on kids who go to RTC, right? And then measure how much are they willing to commit, right? There will be kids maybe 1 or 2 years down the
because the kid might be interested initially, but over a period of time, we have to see that how it will work for him, or
Right.
whether positively, or is it too much for him? We have to make a decision.
Right. One thing is sure, that we don't want to create too many customized membership models over here. So we will, of course, take into account for kids who go to RTC and who want to have an extra training, but we cannot keep creating different contribution structures and membership plans for every single kid, because it's just too administratively laborious to do it.
Yeah, fully understand. But
Yeah.
I mean, the two parts. It's not that we want to have that custom-made training program, but at the same time, I don't want to push the kid hard, or because just because we are committed.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I guess everyone have to decide on what's their appetite and how much more they're willing to push for themselves. All right, Leon, have you figured out your mic problems, or? I guess not. Okay. Anyone else? Any questions, remarks, feedback?
No.
All right. Okay. Okay. Well, the next steps are going to be that the kids that we already know who can fit into elite groups, you will receive a special email in next few days that you are selected to that group, and you will have a window to confirm your interest. Based on that confirmation, we will conduct a special session for elite group on the contribution structure, etc. At that time, you may ask some specific questions around financials and how to best fit the model for your own kid. For recreational youth, not much is going to change as such, unless some of you actually get promoted from being recreational to one of the elite groups. And Ellie and his team will proactively approach you if at all they see a talent, they see a potential that you can take on more. And then that will be a chance to decide if you would like to sign up for more trainings and follow elite program. So that's going to be next. And but we would welcome any questions that you may have. I know we have thrown a lot of information at all of you over for last one and a half hours. So sleep over it. If you have any specific questions about your kid, we would love to hear from you. Yeah. All right. With that, Samar, any final closing thoughts?
No, I think you covered it all.
All right. Okay. Okay. Well, we appreciate your time on the Saturday evening. Really appreciate it. And yeah, enjoy your weekend. We'll see you all soon.
Yeah.
Thanks, Will.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Right.